I met Candy when we were just teenagers. She moved into the neighborhood right before high school, and from the moment I laid eyes on her, I was smitten. It took me a few years to work up the courage, but in our senior year, I finally made a move. From there, everything fell into place quickly. We got married shortly after she graduated from college and started building our life together. We had 3 children, Laura, Tom, and Marie. Our life seemed picture perfect, but underneath the surface, there were cracks I didn't see. Our marriage, like any other, had its ups and downs. I always thought Candy was content with the family and life we created. I loved her deeply and believed she felt the same. However, I was wrong. Candy grew bored with our life and craved excitement. Instead of talking to me about her feelings, she sought thrills elsewhere. It all began on a girls' trip to Vegas. Candy and her friends went for a weekend getaway, and that's where things took a turn. She got drunk and had some fun with 2 male strippers. According to her, nothing happened beyond second base, but it awakened something in her. She regretted not going further and began to seek more of that excitement in her life. A year after that trip, she started going to bars and clubs. She needed the thrill, and eventually, she started hooking up with other men. At least 2 of her girlfriends covered for her, and I was none the wiser. Our marriage continued as usual, and I never suspected a thing. I might still be married to Candy if one of her lovers hadn't documented their moments together. He was angry that she had another guy on the side and mailed the evidence to me as revenge. When I received the package, I was sick to my stomach. The images and videos were explicit, showing things I could hardly believe. I didn't respond well. I was devastated, angry, and heartbroken all at once. I immediately filed for divorce. My lawyer used some of the evidence in court, but not all of it. It wasn't necessary to use everything. I kept the rest of the evidence in the attic, not wanting to revisit those painful memories. Years passed, and life moved on. Recently, my youngest daughter, Marie, made some poor choices with an ex-boyfriend. I had to get a lawyer for her, and I was amazed at how much the laws had changed. I was relieved that my daughter was protected. After everything was resolved, I had a serious conversation with her. I told her to be mindful and always be prepared for the consequences of her actions. Some guys just don't care about the law, and I wanted her to be aware of that. During our conversation, I opened up to Marie about how I found out her mother had cheated on me. I let it slip that I still had the evidence. It was a mistake on my part, and 2 days later, Candy was banging on my door. She demanded that I give her everything I had and yelled at me for keeping it. I reminded her that the evidence was given to me and that it was made before the law prohibited it. As long as I didn't upload, share, or sell it, I was legally in the clear. Candy went crying to our adult children. Marie took her side, which I expected, but Tom and Laura were different. When they asked why I kept the evidence, I told them it served as a reminder of why I should never care about their mother. Tom felt that as long as I didn't do anything with it, it was okay. Laura preferred that I trash it, but said she wouldn't cut me off like Marie threatened to. Now I'm left questioning my actions. Am I the asshole for keeping the evidence? The tension in the family became palpable. Candy's demands and Marie's unwavering support for her mother created a divide that threatened to tear us apart. I tried to maintain a semblance of normalcy, but it was challenging when every family gathering felt like a battlefield. Tom and Laura, though more understanding, were caught in the middle. Tom, ever the pragmatist, saw my point of view, but urged me to reconsider keeping the evidence. Dad, I get it. I really do. But is holding on to that stuff worth the strain it's causing? Mom made terrible choices, but you're better than this, he said one evening when we met for coffee. Laura, always the peacemaker, suggested family therapy. We need to heal, Dad. All of us. Maybe talking to a professional can help us move past this, she proposed. I agreed to try, not for Candy's sake, but for my children's. We started seeing a therapist, Dr. Morgan, who specialized in family dynamics and infidelity. Our first session was intense, with emotions running high. Candy accused me of trying to control her even after our divorce. You have no right to keep those videos. They were a mistake, and I paid the price, she shouted. Dr. Morgan intervened, asking us to focus on our feelings rather than accusations. This is a space for understanding, not blame, she reminded us. Over the next few sessions, we began to unpack years of hurt and resentment. Candy admitted that she had felt trapped and unappreciated in our marriage, though that didn't excuse her actions. I confessed my own shortcomings, acknowledging that I had often been distant and consumed by work, failing to notice Candy's growing dissatisfaction. It was a painful realization, but it was a step toward healing. Despite the progress in therapy, the issue of the evidence remained unresolved. One evening, after a particularly heated session, I found myself alone in the attic, staring at the box that contained the remnants of my broken marriage. The temptation to destroy it was strong, but I hesitated. It wasn't just about revenge. It was about the principle, about having a tangible reminder of why I needed to be cautious in future relationships. That night, Laura visited me. "Dad, I've been thinking a lot about everything. Holding onto that box isn't just hurting Mom, it's hurting you too. It's keeping you tied to the past. Maybe it's time to let go," she said gently. Her words resonated with me. I realized that holding on to the evidence was a way of clinging to my pain and anger. It was preventing me from truly moving on. The next day, I took the box to a local recycling center and watched as it was shredded into oblivion. It was cathartic, a symbolic act of letting go. When I told the family about my decision, the reactions were mixed. Candy was visibly relieved, though she didn't express gratitude. Marie was skeptical, thinking it was a ploy to win favor. Tom and Laura, however, were supportive. "It's a good step, Dad. Now we can focus on healing," Tom said. With the evidence gone, our therapy sessions took on a new tone. We began to address the underlying issues that had led to the infidelity and the subsequent fallout. Candy and I worked on rebuilding trust, not as a couple but as co-parents. It was a slow process, filled with setbacks and small victories. One breakthrough came when Candy admitted her own struggles with self-worth and identity. I was lost, trying to find excitement because I didn't know who I was anymore. "It wasn't just about you. It was about me," she confessed. It was a moment of vulnerability that allowed me to see her not as the woman who betrayed me, but as someone who had her own demons to battle. For the sake of our children, we made an effort to present a united front during family events. Marie, though still worried, began to soften as she saw the changes in our interactions. Laura's suggestion of therapy had been a turning point, and I thanked her for her wisdom and compassion. Tom, ever the voice of reason, continued to provide support and encouragement. He even suggested that Candy and I take a co-parenting class to improve our communication. "It's about building a better future, not dwelling on the past," he reminded us. We enrolled in the class, and it proved to be beneficial. We learned techniques for effective communication, conflict resolution, and how to support our children as a team. It wasn't easy, but we were committed to making it work for them. As time passed, the wounds began to heal. Our family dynamic shifted from one of tension and mistrust to one of cautious optimism. We were far from perfect, but we were making progress. One evening, as we gathered for a family dinner, I looked around the table at my children. They had grown into remarkable individuals despite the turmoil. I realized that the love and support we had for each other were stronger than any betrayal. Marie, who had been the most affected by the whole ordeal, approached me after dinner. "Dad, I've been thinking a lot. I see the effort you're making, and I appreciate it. Maybe we can start fresh," she said hesitantly. Her words were a balm to my soul. "I like that, Marie." "More than anything," I replied, hugging her tightly. Our journey was far from over, but we were moving forward together. The evidence that had once symbolized pain and betrayal was gone, replaced by a commitment to healing and growth. I had learned that letting go wasn't about forgetting, it was about making room for new beginnings. In the end, we found a way to rebuild our family, not as it was before, but as something new and stronger. The road ahead was uncertain, but with love, understanding, and a willingness to forgive, we were ready to face it together.